Today we are hoping to slash the cost of our commercial feed by at least 50%. Okay. In all cases, we need to identify the leaves. It's number one. We need to learn how to prepare the leaves, and we need to know how much to apply into our animal feed. So you've got Mulberry that can replace about 50% of your commercial feed. You've got Tree Lucerne that can replace about 75% of your commercial feed. Guys, let us dive straight into this topic and slash away some costs and save our farming community some money, right? So, hi everyone. You're most welcome back to Acerabbit Farms, as we bring to you, a very topical discussion. Today we are hoping to slash the cost of our commercial feed by at least 50%. Okay, I think that is the purpose of this discussion today. Now, this topic is very seasonal, or should I say, it follows the economic cycle and therefore relevant and timeless for our rabbit farmers. Really, when commercial feed prices go up, alternative sources of feed becomes topical, and this discussion dominates WhatsApp groups, chats for many months. Now, we all know, or at least from Ace Farm, we have realized that between 70 to 80% of our operating costs goes to the feed, goes to buying commercial feed alone. And so, therefore, finding alternatives and at most reducing feed costs is a very interesting discussion point, and a very much welcome topic for a lot of livestock farmers, because if you are really taking money to go and buy commercial feed and it doesn't last, you are here to sell your animals to make money, and then all of that money goes back into operation. It is quite a painful exercise, and therefore it is critical that we find alternative sources of feed to sustain the farm and to support the farmer going forward. So, anyway, here at Ace Farm, look, it is about creating educative content to support our viewer communities. And if this content serves that purpose for you, then by all means, go ahead, subscribe, like, share with your fellow farmers, and send your comments, so that we can help this channel grow. Now, guys, this is a personal appeal. I'm sorry, but this is a personal appeal that I wanted to send out to everyone out there who's been watching. If you've been with us for a number of months and you've been enjoying our videos, guys, what are you waiting for? Help us by subscribing and help to push this channel to grow. Okay. Yeah, look, the last time I checked, we had about 6,000 people who interact with our channel, and yet only 550 odd have subscribed. And so I'm honestly urging you to just take a moment out of your time, pause, take a moment, go and subscribe and give it thumbs up if you like it. Okay. Now, while we continue to thank our subscribers, we urge you to come to the fun side of this island. Subscribe and share your comments so that together we can all grow. Okay. All right. Phew. Now that is out of the way, let's jump into the real topic of slashing our rabbit feed cost by at least 50%. Okay, and that for me is a real point of discussion today. Now, how are we going to do that? How are we going to do that? Is by finding alternative sources of nutrients from tree leaves. Guys, we are in a tropic, and we've got a lot of green fodder, but I guess we now need to sit down and do the real work of finding which of these tree fodders are valuable to use as supplements or even complementary to our existing feed, so that we can save on some costs. So by using tree leaf hay as supplementary of our feed, we stand a chance of slashing some of these costs away. Okay. Now, look, tree leaves is a huge topic. Tree leaves hay is a huge topic, and I think we should, if we can narrow it down and make it manageable, it will be worthwhile a conversation. And so that is what I'm going to attempt to do, because it's quite a huge, the list of trees that are available is just huge. The various nutrient composition, from protein, from crude fiber, from ash, and others, it's just too huge. But I guess I'm going to try and squeeze this topic in so that we can, let me see if we can make this video in probably about 5 or 6 minutes. I'll really appreciate that. Okay, so that you can also send your comment. I don't want to be the only one talking. Now, so having said all of that, so our search is to reduce the protein. So basically, when feed prices goes up, it is because the protein content, the component of the protein content usually is what goes up. So if you look carefully, just based on observation, you realize that it is seasonal first of all. So usually when it's going to Easter, when it's going to Christmas, this is this is very particular in Ghana, guys. That is all I know. It's very particular in Ghana because in Ghana, at least we rely a lot on the poultry industry, and we use very, very similar component to formulate our own feed. So if the poultry feed is going up, then guess what? Rabbit feed automatically goes up. So how could you be using the poultry feed to feed your rabbit and at the same time try and compete with the chicken meat, because the rabbit is supposed to be the alternative for the chicken? I'm struggling to get that logic because it's not making sense to me. So the idea is to completely shift or partially shift your rabbit into a true rabbit feed domain, right? So that it doesn't have anything to do with the chicken. The feed that you are giving your rabbit should have nothing to do with the chicken. Okay. Anyway, so that is where I believe the conversation should be. So our search is therefore to reduce, or our search for the purpose of this discussion is reduced to protein-rich tree leaves that can serve or replace the protein that we currently have, the expensive protein in the feed that we currently have. So this is to replace the current expensive protein that we currently have. That's all. You know, so we took this whole complex feed is expensive, we've reduced it to tree leaves that are high in protein. This protein must obviously be digestible, must be palatable, must be available. We must know them. Then if we can get these leaves, we just need to learn how to prepare them, what quantity to feed our animals, or what quantity that if our animals feed will let them perform best. Because if you look at all the research material that I've just been going through, that is what it is. They feed at 15%, 25%, 50%, 60% of these leaves to the animals. Excuse me. And by so doing, they are able to tell you that when you feed it at 25% of these leaves, the animal perform best. And therefore, you stick to that 25% because that is what somebody has researched. You go out with that data, you experiment it with yourself over and over and over again until you find a sweet spot. Then that sweet spot becomes your inherent trading secret, right? To better your farm. Is that okay? All right. So today we are visiting almost a very old, and it's an art. Look, making hay from tree leaf is a very old technique that has been in existence for many years. So hay is not only made from grass, guys. Hay can also be made from tree leaves. Basically, you cut the tree, nice soft part of the tree leaves with stems, and you dry them. You dry them maybe a day in the sun, and then the rest of the drying you dry them in the shade, and that then becomes a forage for your animal. You know, you can crush them, you can pellet them, and so forth and so on, and then therefore that becomes the feed for your animal. So I think that is where we're going to be going today. Now, there are a large number of trees, I've already said this, that we need to bring them down. We need to reduce it so that we are able to talk about this topic. Okay. Now, from our observation, or at least for the last 4 years, what we have observed is that the stumbling block to accessing and using tree leaf hay are mainly a couple of points, probably 7 points, right? So I was trying to list them down here. And it says that there is insufficient knowledge in these areas. Guys, I searched through the entire, or at least published academic material for Ghana, and I could only find one. Niger, I searched, I found a couple very good ones actually on bitter leaf, on cassava. I found some quite interesting material. Kenya, I found something about I think it's Lucerne, or something like that. I found quite some interesting things in Kenya, but majority of the reading materials I got from India, which are also some tropical areas in that side. So it kind of makes sense that we'll be relying on some of those research data to support what we are trying to do here. Okay, so insufficient knowledge in these areas. Now, what tree leaves to use? I'm talking about identifying the tree leaves. You know, how do we even identify the tree leaves? You end up feeding your animal with some wrong stuff. So we need to know the tree leaves. We need to be able to identify the tree leaves. Now, is it available? Is it accessible? Did you plant them yourself? Is it from somebody else's yard? Is it by the side of the road? Now, you must remember these leaves must be very safe from agrochemicals because somebody might have gone in and sprayed. Let's look at mango tree. We all know that mango occasionally does have some kind of bugs growing on them in the tropics. And owners of mango trees will usually spray these mango trees. And guess what? Mango tree leaf is one super rich leaves for feeding rabbit. You know, mango has got 18.59% of crude protein. Now, not to talk about the ash, the minerals, and the fiber, and the carbohydrate, and other benefit that comes with it. But please, before you go and pluck some mango leaves, just be super, super careful, okay? Because you don't know who has sprayed there, or at least make sure it is your own mango. And by the way, mango leaf, you can easily make them because you normally prune mangoes. And when you're pruning mangoes, boom, here is the opportunity for you to start using the leaves to, you know, supplement your rabbit feed. Okay. So we're going back to the 7 point I mentioned. So insufficient knowledge. How do we identify these leaves? Availability, accessibility. How do you assess them? You know, what are the nutrient compositions? Yes, we know about mango leaves, but what is the percentage of protein? What is the percentage of crude fiber? And so forth and so on. You know, now that you've identified it, now that you know the composition, the question there is, how do we then prepare it? Do we just give it to them raw? Do we dry them? Do we convert them into powder? Do we pellet them? How do we feed them? Now that we've learned how to prepare it, then the question is what quantity to feed your animals? You know, and finally, are these leaves sufficient as a balanced diet? So, guys, if we could go through these 7 questions: lack of knowledge, what tree leaves to use, availability, what is the nutrient content, how to prepare the leaves, and how to feed these leaves. And then the final question basically is this particular leaf just sufficient as a feed? So, by all means, there are leaves out there that can support us feed our animals, right? But don't just jump on one single leaf and start feeding your animal, because that is a recipe for disaster. Okay. So if you can get across the 7 point, I'm sure we should be good to go and start experimenting and feeding our animals appropriately with available forage. By so doing, we slash the cost of our commercial feed. Okay. So in all cases, we need to identify the leaves. It's number 1. We need to learn how to prepare the leaves, and we need to know how much to apply into our animal feed. So without much ado, let us dive straight into this topic and slash away some costs and save our farming community some money, right? Now, maybe some warnings might be relevant at this particular stage. Some warnings might be very, very relevant at this particular stage, okay? So let's see. So here in the tropics, and especially in dusty areas, we recommend that we usually wash, salt, dry our leaves before using. Guys, there at Ace Farm, even though we are surrounded by trees, guys, our leaves are all covered in dust. You know, guys, we know the situation. I'm not going to go along those lines. It's covered in dust. And interestingly, I read an article that I'll get to. I read an article that I'm going to get to in the bonus material section of this particular topic. So I've reserved 2 bonus materials that I believe are actually very interesting to learn. So please just hang in there, continue watching this to the end, and I'm sure you really appreciate that. Okay, so I'm going to jump straight into it. And the very first leaf on our topic today is the mulberry. Guys, the mulberry leaves are readily available in the tropics. Ace Farm, we've gone out and we've actually purchased mulberry from other people in Ghana. So mulberry trees are very much available. Okay, so go ahead and do that. If you want also, you can always come to Ace Farm. I'm sure Elliot will prepare a couple of seedlings for you. Of course, it will not be for free. The same way that we bought it, we might also want to give it away for you. That is not our business model, but mulberry is available. So go out there and get mulberry for yourself, okay? Yeah, so mulberry has got several benefits for rabbits. It is digestible, it is palatable, it's got high crude protein content. For the mulberry is between 15 to 30%. Now, a typical rabbit will need just about between 17 to 18% of crude protein. So if mulberry has got between 15 to 30% of crude protein, here goes your slashing of cost of feed. You can just include mulberry to your leaves and you will save some money. So it says mulberry leaves are rich in nutrients such as protein, fiber, vitamins, minerals, which are essential for growth and health of a rabbit. Okay, it is digestible. It has immune booster for the rabbit system. The twigs and the small stems of mulberry also help them with their dental health. Okay, and above all, the mulberry plant also grows very, very quickly, and that makes them environmentally sustainable. Okay, so there you go. Plant number 1 down. Boom, the mulberry. Now, plant number 2, I'm going to go to the Tree Lucerne. Tagasaste. I never get that name right. Tagasaste.
And I'll bring you the Tree Lucerne too.
Yes.
Hey,
It
Tagasaste.
hasn't arrived yet.
The
When it
Tagasaste, yeah.
There we go again. Ace Farm always asking friends for support, friends coming to us for support, and we sharing and sharing and sharing. Guys, there is always benefit in sharing. And there we are. We've just received a friend who has now promised to bring us Tree Lucerne. Now, Tree Lucerne is in Ghana, but we don't have access to it. Okay, I've spoken to a couple of professors, and Tree Lucerne is in Ghana, but it is very, perhaps some few people have got it and they've not expanded their production to share, but Tree Lucerne is definitely in Ghana. We are waiting for our portion, okay? So we all know that Lucerne, anything Lucerne, or usually alfalfa, is the number 1 go-to plant for fodder, especially for your ruminants. Okay, now this Tree Lucerne apparently mimics or is very, very close to the actual Lucerne. So here I've got the actual Lucerne, guys. I harvested this Lucerne from my own garden, okay? And look at it. I've harvested this in a month since Elliot was here in November last month that we planted it. And I've kept it. It is so nice and dry, and it still looks green. And it is preserved. Dried it both indoor and outdoor, and it is still preserved, right? So if there were rabbits around, then this is what I would have been serving them. Okay, this we only grew from about 5 or 6 plants outside in a pot. Okay, so we are talking about Tree Lucerne, not the original Lucerne. This is the original Lucerne, okay, or alfalfa as they call it. All right, so Tree Lucerne is also very, very rich in protein, and if you look at the protein content here for Tree Lucerne, it says between 12 to 25%. And there's a lot of research done in Kenya. So the 2 tree leaves I've discussed with you now, there's a ton of research. There's a lot of research material everywhere. If you go into Google, if you go into in fact, I like the academic site. If you go into academic writings, you will find a lot of articles on mulberry. You find a lot of articles on Tree Lucerne. Okay, Tree Lucerne original source was the Canary Islands, surprisingly, and now it grows everywhere. Australia, Southern Africa, okay, Kenya, and so forth. Look, it's got fiber of about 45%, and it can replace up to 75% of your commercial feed. So you've got mulberry that can replace about 50% of your commercial feed. You've got Tree Lucerne that can replace about 75% of your commercial feed. Guys, what are we waiting for? Okay, so I'm going to choose to stop at only discussing 2 trees, okay? Because this topic is quite lengthy, it's quite long, and I don't want to hold you too long. But I've just listed 2. There's a whole lot, okay? I'm talking about the willow, the whistling willow is there. I'm talking about your normal bitter leaf. I mentioned mango. You know, then there is this Lucerne. Guys, I've already gone out. You can see the pictures that I'm showing on the background, where I've gone out just in my neighborhood here, and I've been able to harvest mulberry, Lucerne, you know, all the trees that you have now. I've been able to harvest all of that. Okay, so without much I say, let's jump straight into the bonus material. Now, my bonus material is going to be a research extract. I don't know how to reference these guys in a YouTube video, so I'm just going to call his name. His name is Marcus Klaus. Okay, and he says something that resonated with me, and I believe you will also find it very useful. And he says that the choice of hay should be based primarily on hygiene and nutritional evaluation. So he has taken it one step further, that hygiene. You know, you don't want to feed your animals for them to only fall sick. So your source must be hygienic. You must know where your tree leaves are coming from. If you doubt it, you wash, you salt and dry it. Okay. Now, it says this is logical, as there is nothing like feeding your animal to get sick, of course. Now, ideally, animals cared for by humans should receive the same diet as if they are in free ranging. Okay, as if they are in the wild. Okay, and in the wild, the rabbit's diet consists of various. I think we did a video on 1,000 herbs. So it's a little bit, so rabbits are actually herbivores, but specifically, rabbits are browsers. You know, yes, they eat a little bit of grass from the ground, but they like to pick on leaves here and there, you know, bit here, bit there, small here. So variety. And that is exactly what this Marcus Klaus is talking about here. It's a doctor or something like that, guys. He's talking about here. So ideally, animal care for by human beings should receive the same variety, or at least. And he is suggesting that 2 different trees or different tree leaves is sufficient as a variety. So that already, we've just discussed 2. So 2 already is sufficient, guys. But like I said, there's a whole lot to be added to it. So to make your animal really have fun and enjoy their little life left in the cage, guys, go ahead, find appropriate 2, 3, or 4 leaves and mix them so that your animal can really have variety. Okay, but above all, he emphasizes on hygiene as opposed to nutritional content. So for him, he's so serious about hygiene of the leaves that you feed your animals. So that again speaks to the way you treat the leaves before you feed your animal. Okay, I'm going to add one more angle to this bonus material, and it also comes from another researcher. Her name is Jennifer Preble. I've already mentioned this before in my 1,000 herbs. Okay, she's in feeding unlimited hay. So this Jennifer Preble spoke about something called stereotypic. Stereotypic is a behavior that is observed in this animal that is not usually normal. I've seen this in rabbit in cages. You see them almost like they are licking the metal cage, or they're biting off the water nipples. You know, all of these are behavior that are not normal. Now, the only way to get over this kind of behavior is to feed them unlimited hay. To put unlimited hay in their cages. Their cages should be full of unlimited hay. With such hay, unlimited hay, especially in the night, they will not get bored. If they are bored, they will find a piece of hay to chew. And that then takes them away from their boredom. You know, some of these uncharacteristic behavior will be like licking part of the cage, digging against the cage, biting the water nipple, you know, and this occur especially in the night when they are very, very active. And so, guys, look, this is a brilliant discussion. I've enjoyed reading about it. We've enjoyed putting some of these into practice. Excuse me. And as we expect our outcome with experiment that we are doing, keep watching out, okay? So there's a whole lot of leaves that I've not mentioned here. We've not spoken about the moringa. We've not spoken about bitter leaf. We've not spoken about mango, noni, lucenia. We've not spoken about that. There's a whole list of leaves. So perhaps I might have to do 2 more videos, and each of the videos will contain 2 leaves, okay? And majority of them will be just the caution, and then we dive straight into the 2. So if you like this content, guys, by all means, subscribe and keep motivating us so that we can continue bringing you rich content as ever. All right, until I catch you again, boom, keep farming.